Chance, you ready? Good evening, everyone. I'm calling this regular meeting of the Planning Commission to order at 6:30. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with section 19.83 and section 19.84 Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call is showing all commissioners present. Commissioner Ewert will be arriving a little bit later this evening. We are now on to citizen input. Would anybody like to come forward tonight and speak? Don't be bashful. Good evening and welcome.
Okay. I'm not as prepared tonight. I had a completely different thing I was going to cover, but in talking to a couple people, I'm going to wait till next week because it's a very important issue with the Finance Committee, and something happened that a lot of people are very upset about. So I'm going to bring that up next Monday night. Stay tuned. On tonight, everyone that comes before our boards, they come for personal gain. Either it's a developer or somebody with a personal issue, which is fine. That's what we're here for. And everybody, the planning commission needs to look at all these zoning changes because I think they're going to hurt our community in the long run. I think to take a more careful look, when you make a decision today, it's going to affect tomorrow. And I think our developer and administrator have been pushing so much stuff on this community. We can't afford all this stuff. We're going to have a major money problem in a couple of years if somebody doesn't have a more watchful eye. And regarding with wetlands, I don't think they should be disturbed for personal gain, for a personal plan, which somebody wants to do in their home. I don't think we should be destroying wetlands. And on the solar farm, I took some time today. I couldn't get through to Trump, and because all the phones are down at Washington D.C. because of the shutdown. But I did get through to Ron Johnson's office, and we're also working. And I think this solar thing tonight should be denied again because talking to our state representatives, there is something going through Congress right now, our state level, and there might be passed where the people will have a right to say yes or no, which is the way it should be with these solar farms. So I'd like you guys not to jump the gun on this, just say no for now till we hear what's going to happen. It's probably going to be in December. And so any developments like that should be on hold because we're going to lose a lot of agricultural land if we don't stop some of this stuff. Not against this stuff, but every farmer is going to want to make a ton of money on his land with a solar farm, and it's ridiculous. And so take a look at this and deny it if you can. All developments for rentals, I think, should be on hold for now. We've got one with 164 units in this for tonight. Holy Hill, I think, should be put on hold. We got enough stuff going on with our own property here in the village that I think we should be paying more attention to. So I think we're taking on more than we can afford. And in my opinion, I'm just tired of people and projects trying to line their pockets at the cost of the taxpayers, which I'm one of them, okay? And I'm just asking this board to look at this stuff carefully to see what your decisions are going to do to our budgets and to our future plans for this community. So that's all I got tonight. I wish I had more, but I just didn't have time. I wanted to cover these issues with the solar farm and with you guys looking at all these zoning changes, which I think can be very harmful when you're changing the land. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to come forward and speak tonight? Good evening and welcome.
Okay. Good evening, Melanie Smythe, N140W17938 Cedar Lane. Two different subjects tonight. One, I'll start with the Holy Hill. I had sent in some comments when a few weeks ago on the master plan, and was told that the comments were going to get read into this meeting. Is that correct, or was that for the canceled village board meeting?
Can you read it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct,
All
correct.
right, then I'm not going to go over that, except to say that, in too much detail, except to say that a lot of this community engagement information that was done for the Flower Source and Grosnick property should be included in the master planning. There's a great lack of emphasis in the Holy Hill version on the people who live in the adjacent area. The whole reason this was put on hold was because of the outpouring of people who were very annoyed that all of these warehouses suddenly popped up, and their comments, their requests were not considered. And the reason that area north of Rockfield was put on provisional hold, I think is the term, is because nobody wanted to address it at Plan Commission and at the former village president. There were plans for, at the time, frontage road being built along 41, which is unlikely. Oh, good, I got 4 minutes. And for geological reasons, the water extension and sewer was probably not likely to happen because of all the rock up there. And also, the town of Germantown is up there. So there are a number of reasons why it's unlikely that that frontage road will happen. And I think that the Plan Commission should consider a policy that if a group of people or a business or something is there first, that there should be a greater consideration for their quality of life in what comes in afterwards, whether it's industrial first or residences first. They should be given a great deal of consideration and be listened to in terms of what comes afterwards. The quality of life has gone down for that Woodside neighborhood. There's light pollution, there's noise pollution, there's a high level of truck traffic all over the place. They've spent decades here spending money, giving taxes to the village, and they were not listened to at all. So I think that it's one thing that this Plan Commission can do to rectify some of the problems that were caused in the past by some of the prior boards. Put the people first, and that's what my main comment is about these. You should have these red lines. I hope that these were picked up, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Now, on to the next thing about housing. There's not really a housing shortage. There's a shortage of affordable housing. One of the things that is happening is that as boomers are leaving, either to go to assisted living or some other kind of accommodation, or maybe leaving the earth, more houses are coming available. We're also at the top of the market right now, in my opinion. Pricing of existing houses as a result of the financial crash in 2008 has been pushed up by corporations who are buying up housing and are renting out. And that's changing. They're starting to sell properties. I follow a number of real estate organizations. Entry-level housing should mean for purchase, not for rental. So those are some things I picked up on from the agenda packet. I also took a look at some of the apartments buildings around the village. One that was most recently built is now worth $23 million in the assessed value on the county taxes. They pay $330,235.45 in taxes last year. A typical apartment two-bedroom, two-bath is about 1,100 square feet and is about $2,000. I compared that to some recent houses that have been built on half acre, 600,000 in cost. The taxes that they pay are 8,000 a year. There is more than twice as many households utilizing the village services in comparing the apartment building to comparing, if you were, sorry, I'm getting this screwed up. If you were, there's twice as many apartments as there would be in the value of the taxes that apartment building has. What I'm saying is that it's fairly well established that by UWM extension, that cost of services apartments use of a village are more costly than households. So I think that we should be considering this as we are going to be looking at the 5-year plan that's coming out in December. We have $100 million worth of public works coming up. We need to be considering where this revenue is coming from, and I don't think it's apartments.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak tonight? Good evening and welcome.
David Baum, Germantown trustee representing District Number 1. I want to tell you about my last trip to Chicago, driving down I-94 right by the IKEA facility. And I saw the most mundane set of buildings, these one-story repetitive townhouses, side by side by side by side, the same thing. There had to be 30 of them in a row, it looked like. And I find out these guys are coming to us. It's what's on the agenda tonight, item D, and they're bringing the same thing here. The most mundane architectural design that you could ever put out there. The same repetitive building 164 times. Talk about what the differentiation in architecture is. A little bit of color change. We're going to do this one green, this one blue, this one white, this one brown. These units may have another room between them, so it's a little bit longer, 10 feet longer. That's the only differentiation between them. On their website, they represent this as luxury housing. There's nothing luxury about this. So if that comes up, there's nothing luxury about it. I would ask you when this comes up to go look at some other facilities. Take a look at their website. It's horrendous. Look down at Prairie Glen in Menominee Falls. Side by side, combined fourplexes, very nicely done. Architectural differentiation between each of the units. They may have very similar floor plans, but this one's got an arched window, this one's got a bay window, this one's got a double peak, this one's got a chamfered peak. They have architectural interest in it. This is the exact same thing that is going up down the street. 6 acres, 36 units, mundane. Those gentlemen reached out to me and wanted to talk to me direct. It is the same story. We are bringing top of the market luxury rentals. There's nothing luxury about these. Repetitive is not luxury. It's just siding after siding after siding, no interest at all. So when you get to the item number D, think about that, see what the images are. You'll see that the mundaneness that's coming to our community. That's not what we are about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to come forward and speak tonight? Do you have anyone on WebEx that would like to speak tonight? I believe we have one email comment, correct? Or no, two?
One for public hearing and then we.
Oh, for
wanna
public
read
hearing.
this With the RFP or no? Read it now.
Let's read it now. Yeah.
Okay, so this message is regarding the Holy Hill Master Plan, proposed markups from Melanie Smythe. Good evening. I am providing some comments and a marked up copy of the RFP for the neighborhood meeting master plan for Holy Hill and Freistadt area. I hope you discuss the markup and make the RFP more about the residents and maintaining our quality of life and less about enabling more development. The current version of the RFP is entirely out of balance. Generally, the RFP is clinically written and has put the people of Germantown last. The whole point of this neighborhood meeting was because the prior administration kept putting of talking the residents in the surrounding areas. The 2020 comprehensive plan had this area as residential. In the time around 2019, those involved in decision-making chose to make a huge diversion from the previously promised direction. There was a concerted effort to minimize any resident's opinion who was against having their homes and quality of life affected by truck traffic, light, and noise pollution. The end result was that the administration delayed the meetings, much to the annoyance and disappointment of people in the area. Thankfully, the new administration and current plan commission has stated that it is time to change this transgression. I am encouraging you to include the Plan Commission in the process this time. They were left out of actual policy discussions last time and were only given an opportunity to review the final draft at the end of the process. Yes, they participated in sessions, but it was clear that a handful of people were steering the process. Don't let that happen again. The videos that recently talk about our quality of life are great. I hope that the sentiment and approach that all government activity is for maintaining a high quality of life for all our residents. From a policy standpoint, there should be an approach that factors in if a residential area was there first and a different, perhaps incompatible use wants to come next. Likewise, if industrial or other is there, it should be no surprise to residents that they are choosing to live next to high truck traffic, light, noise, and polluted parts of town. Melanie Smythe, Cedar Lane. That's it.
Okay, any final comments from folks before we move on? Okay, we're now on to item 4, meeting minutes. The Plan Commission minutes from October 13, 2025. Entertain a motion.
Second.
We have discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. We're on to new business. Item A, Jason Zimmerman, property owner, application for a conditional use permit to allow encroachment to portions of 25 feet of wetland setback pursuant to section 24.04, 3C5 of the municipal code for construction of an above-ground pool / deck and detached garage on property located at W202 North 11787 Merkle Drive. And we will have a public hearing on this as well. So, Jordan?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Plan Commission. As you mentioned, this is a conditional use permit for proposed development within the village's 25-foot wetland setback requirement. Property on screen here is located off of Merkle Drive and it's zoned RS1, single-family residence. The development that is proposed within the 25-foot required wetland setback per application is a detached garage, 840 square feet, portion of above-ground pool, and deck, about roughly 60 square feet, and then disturbance areas around the construction edges of the structures according to the applicant. Chapter 24 of the municipal code does allow encroachment within the 25-foot wetland setback provided a conditional use permit is applied for and approved. And the applicant in this case and other cases is and are required to compensate and mitigate the proposed impacted wetland setback areas. The site plan survey, which was included in the packet, showing the layout, existing development with the proposed development deck area and the proposed detached garage. This exhibit provided by the applicant shows a little bit more detail in terms of where the existing wetland edge is and the 25-foot setback. So to clarify, the physical or actual wetland area is not being disturbed by this proposal, but the 25-foot setback village requirement is being disturbed, quote unquote. Under the mitigation plan, the applicant proposes silt fencing and other seating around the construction areas, and also does propose a 3,000 square foot area of native planting and grasses to compensate the impacted wetland setback areas. And those are denoted on that wetland exhibit map. some site photos that the applicant provided, just showing the existing property, depicting where the deck will be proposed to extend from the existing, and then also the garage area further out in the photos. So with that, staff does find the wetland compensation plan to be sufficient, but also at the same time recommends there to be more detail in terms of the wetland exhibit depicting specific square footage of disturbance areas on that survey. Along with that, given the proximity to the wetland, 1.5 feet actually, in terms of the detached garage, staff recommended a condition for pre-post inspections with the wetland area staked off in the field so we can document and confirm that that wetland area wouldn't be impacted. And then also of note, the homeowner, along with their consultant, has submitted a letter of map change. This specific area of the property is within the floodplain. It is pending determination from FEMA right now in terms of their application to remove the project area from the floodplain. So staff has added in a condition that that determination is made favorably. So with that, staff does recommend approval of the conditional use permit to allow the encroachment within portions of the wetland setback, subject to the conditions noted in the packet, some of which just touched on in terms of the wetland exhibit detail. But that being said, I know the applicant is virtual tonight, so he can answer questions, I can take questions, and we also technically have a public hearing.
Any questions for the applicant or staff? Bob? Nope, sorry, other Bob. Mr.
Sorry,
Williams?
just
92 square feet, right?
there is a attached garage.
Okay, isn't the accessory building requirement RS1 indicate if there's an attached garage, the limit is 192 square feet, and if there's not, it's 864 square feet?
It's based on a percentage of the lot area or that cap that you refer to, whichever is greater. So in this instance, I believe off the top of my head, 1.75 of 8 acres, the maximum square footage is much higher than what's proposed
Greater,
anyway.
okay. I didn't read the greater, I just saw the cap. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Warren?
So is the FEMA approval required before we can approve a conditional use?
I wouldn't say prior to approving the conditional use in terms of how I wrote the condition is it would be more so before release of the building permit. But if Plan Commission would decide different direction on that, that is something that I would defer to you.
What if he doesn't get FEMA approval? How does that affect us?
Well, then additional, a revised location of the proposed development and or some other higher level floodplain permitting would theoretically be needed.
So that's a deal breaker for him if he doesn't get the FEMA approval.
I would say.
Okay.
And that would come back to the Plan Commission as a follow-up, if the applicant still wants to move forward.
He would have to revise his CUP
Right,
requirement.
revise the, CUP.
Okay. I just want to mention I was out there a couple months ago to look at the site. And I thought what he was doing and the minimal impact, it's in the setback, but not in the wetlands. And his efforts as far as a test bed for wildflowers and things like that, he's pretty cognizant of what his impact is and going to great strides to mitigate that. So just based upon my observations. Thank you.
Could you go back to the sketch again? You indicated that there's seating areas for compensation. Is that A and B?
So I guess if A8 is the proposed compensation area, the 3,000 square feet, and B was just a test patch that he had tested out per the photos that were included in the packet previously. But if the applicant's, on the call, I would ask that he clarify what he had submitted.
Yes, this is Jason. I'm here.
So, or Jeff, you want to ask?
Jason, could you explain further what and where your compensation is proposed?
So the compensation is actually a topsoil, leftover topsoil pile from the construction that is right now it's barren. I've gotten rid of all the thistles and stuff that were growing there, and the plan is this spring to plant some I forget what the verbiage is, but some native grasses and flowers in that area.
Just in area A?
Just in area A, and then there's area B is the test patch. My plan is to take that whole area and make that all. I'm done cutting all that grass.
But the compensation is just in area A.
Area A and area B, that whole area is going to be done all the way through there to where the long grass starts right now. Currently, that area is mowed. It's bluegrass and it's basically lawn, and I'm going to take and turn it into a wildlife, area.
So let me ask for another question. Let me rephrase it for clarification.
Yeah.
The intent of allowing compensation or requiring it within the 25-foot setback area is to provide further protection to the wetland boundary itself.
Okay.
So I'm asking again, is the compensation area just that 60 by 60s area in A and that small circled area labeled B, or are you spreading the topsoil and the native grasses all along the wetland boundary within the setback area?
No. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go directly from the south edge of A, and I'm going to go directly west all the way to where the wetland delineation is. And my plan is to make that all compensate.
Okay, but there won't be any compensation with additional grasses in the setback area just west of where the pool and the deck are, or just west of where the proposed storage shed is?
Not, well, the storage shed, that's going to stay. Yeah. I mean, that's going to stay the way it is. That's the wetlands are there. So I'm not going to touch that at all. It's very low quality wetlands. So I'd like to do something other than the thistles that are growing in there and all that kind of stuff. What I'm going to do, I'm not sure yet.
Jason, if you could clarify just in your mitigation plan in terms of the seeding and of the bluegrasses and some of the other grasses that are listed in the table that you included in your mitigation plan, you had mentioned that you would be, I thought, mitigating areas along the construction edges. Is that incorrect?
No, I'd be mitigating some of the areas to make them better, but where it's right now, the areas that are grass are going to stay grass. Does that make sense? Directly to the west of the west of the construction area of the pool. Let me look at that. Directly to the west of the pool. That is all. If you go back to the pictures of the actual site, you can actually see it's currently lawn, and it's bluegrass lawn. So you can see that that's mowed up to where that brush is. So the plan is the brush and the longer stuff that's there, that longer stuff that you see that's lighter colored to the left of the brush, that's growing up in thistles and whatever. So the idea is that I do not want the thistles there because that's going to just grow into my yard. And so I'd like to make that a little bit more natural. Yes.
That's all I have for now.
Commissioners, any further questions for Jordan or the applicant? Mr. Warren.
Jeff, a little clarification on that. Based upon your line of questioning, it seems like you would prefer that mitigation occurs along or within the setback area. Correct?
That would be correct.
And does mitigation include going in and, as Jason's proposing, getting rid of the thistles and that? I don't know how you do that. You kill it, herbicides or something like that, or you turn it over and then you put wild native grasses and things in there? Is that what we?
In some cases, in the past, we have had compensation plans that include removal of invasive species from within the wetland, subject to a DNR approved plan where they go in and basically hand cut and harvest that kind of stuff and then try and replant with a more native species, more wetland friendlier type vegetation. More often than not, the compensation plans do include, like Jason's plan includes the planting of more native or wetland friendly type vegetation, but in a way that further protects the wetland boundary itself. I mean, the whole intention of the 25-foot setback is to provide a level of protection to the wetland. So if we're going to let you encroach into the wetland, we'd like you, if we're going to go in 10 feet or 15 feet, we'd like you to plant, that further protection, within that remaining 10 feet or 5 feet, whatever it is. That's ideally what have approved in the past for compensation plans for things like this.
Some of it, if you look at mitigation could be worse than what's there now. I mean, you do have a buffer. Maybe it's not the best of wild grasses and flowers and that, but it's still serving as a setback area. It's thriving, although it's weeds and that. So I just question the value of going in and disrupting something like that to try to achieve a mitigation criteria.
Well, we've been pretty liberal in terms of what we've allowed and accepted as compensation plans. I mean, originally, back in 2004, I believe, the village created this 25-foot wetland setback as a no-touch area. You couldn't do anything within it. And it was around in 2008, we changed the rules, given direction by the administrator at the time and the board to be a little bit more flexible with that setback area and allow some encroachment, because frankly, we were a community that was enforcing what was then considered to be a very stringent setback requirement, because the DNR in most cases with regard to these low quality wetlands has no setback. You can develop right up to the boundary, as far as the DNR is concerned. The village has this setback requirement. So we sort of picked a middle ground. We'll let you encroach into the 25 feet, but you're going to have to provide some additional protection to that wetland itself. And that's what the program evolved into what it is today. And I think for all intents and purposes, we've approved every CUP encroachment that's been presented to us, subject to an approved compensation plan. Typically, it includes some sort of plantings to provide additional protection.
Thank you.
And you've got that identified as one of your conditions.
Correct. I mean, to get additional detail too, just to make sure that the ratio of compensation is accounted for on the wetland exhibit, which it is per the square footage proposed, but I would like to see it on a additional detail per a surveyor exhibit.
And you'll work with the applicant and staff will make that decision on a going forward standpoint.
Correct. Yeah, I would work with the applicant.
Right. Bill?
I guess maybe I'm confused here with the FEMA ruling of the wetlands, or not the floodplain. Anything we do tonight is subject to that decision, right? So why aren't we doing this a little too soon?
Well, given the fact, it depends which way you look at it. My opinion is that you have the right to apply for a conditional use permit, and given the fact that the government shut down for the last 40 days anyway, and FEMA's pending review, I didn't, want to push it back out another month or two in terms of bringing a conditional use permit forward. Really, the factor is just whether or not FEMA has a favorable determination. They've submitted the letter of map change request, so at least we have that documentation. It's not like, hey, you know, we're applying for the CUP and then we'll submit that later on. So right now it's pending.
Okay. I guess my feeling is if the general feeling of the group is that it makes sense to go ahead, that's fine. I don't mind doing it. But just so we know that this could all be out the window.
Right. It's a conditional approval is what we're suggesting, recommending you do. If in abundance of caution, you want to hold back until the FEMA finding and determination is done, that's up to you. You can recommend that to the village board and they can take the final action based on that.
See how it goes with public hearing.
Bridget?
For the letter of map change, is it for the whole parcel? Is it just for the house? What was included in that letter of map revision?
It's hard to see on here, but at least as of what I have, the survey would show a new floodplain line with those dashed, almost darker bold line to the west of the proposed construction. There's additional floodplain to the east right now, so although the survey makes it look like that entire area would be removed, the way that I've interpreted it and what I know about the application is that the floodplain would essentially be scaled back, if you will, further to the west. Because currently the floodplain as proposed for the 2026 map actually touches the house and essentially goes almost to the road.
So looking at the published maps that are on the village website, it looks like the elevation is 911 in this area, which would mean that this proposed garage is entirely in the proposed floodplain. So that's where I'm really struggling with this, is whether or not it could possibly even be removed based on the elevation of where that garage is. Now, the pool seems like it's elevated, so it's likely not in the floodplain itself. Maybe the foundations are, but my concern is the garage.
The garage slab is 912. 912 and a half.
So sorry, my mic was off. The 911 is on the north side of the property, and it looks like it goes up on the south side of the property, so it's right there. So I'd be interested in getting that letter of map change before making a decision.
Further questions? Okay. Public hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Notice of public hearing, Village of Germantown. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before the Village of Germantown Plan Commission at the Germantown Village Hall located at N112 W17001 Mequon Road, Germantown, Wisconsin, and virtually through the WebEx platform on the following date at a time noted below. Monday, November 20th, 2025, 6:30 p.m. or later. The purpose of said hearing is to hear all parties, their attorneys or agents for or against the following application, conditional use permit application to allow encroachment into portions of a 25-foot wetland setback pursuant to section 24.04 3C5 of the municipal code for construction of an above ground pool/deck and a detached garage on the following property. The applicant, Jason Zimmerman, property owner, property address W202 and 11787 Merkle Drive. Would anybody like to speak tonight, either for or against? Good evening and welcome. Good evening, welcome. Come forward. And yes, if you could fill out the yellow form, that'd be great. Just state your name and address.
Sure. I'm Dawn Cons, West 202 North 11658 Merkle Drive. I am south of Zimmerman's. I'm not opposed to Zimmerman putting in a pool or the garage. I'm not. What I am opposed to is going into the wetlands. Right now, the wetland, the lines that he has, so be it. The FEMA came through with Washington County. My septic is now in floodplain because of the new FEMA that came through. What I'm really concerned about is we had the pipeline come through. And I never had water right next to my house, and now I do. And I have a lot of water standing all the time. So with the pipeline coming through, our drainage is not drainage anymore. They dug a big hole to pump all the water out into this hole so they could get the pipe underneath underneath Merkle Drive. And, the water is still standing in that hole. They never filled in that hole. And now that they filled it in, the pipeline, they filled it all flat. So this water is now coming to the south to my property, and a lot of the water is sitting north towards Jason Zimmerman's property. So my concern is not what Jason wants to do. I'm not opposed to that. I live in the neighborhood. I think it's going to be great. It'll look very nice. But I am opposed until they figure out that pipeline that came through there, get some drainage through. We had a creek going through there. Now they filled it in all level. I have no water flowing. We've had no rain, and I have tons of water in my yard. And I am constantly, my sub pump is kicking in every 1 to 3 minutes. Not very normal. And I've replaced it once already. So my concern is pipeline that came through, they came through DNR wetland. I know we're not supposed to disturb the wetlands, but we completely destroyed that wetland that was coming through. So if Jason's gonna put this in, which I'm not opposed to Jason putting in the swimming pool in the garage, what I am opposed is that wetland, that area. It needs to get cleaned up. And I know the DNR doesn't want to come in because it should be natural. Well, there's nothing natural about that pipeline coming through. So we need to get our creek and our river or whatever stream back open so this water can get away from my yard and back where it was going to. And you come down Merkle Drive, it is now deteriorating off with that pipe coming through there and all the water sitting along Merkle Drive. It's pretty bad. So that would be my concern. I'm not opposed to Jason putting the pool in and the garage in. I know it kind of infringes on the wetland. With living there for 27 years, I've never seen it flooded. But we need to address the pipeline and get the water flowing before Jason does anything, because if we address it and then it does flood Jason's area, that's gonna be a problem. And or we need to address his area so it does flow properly, so he does not have an issue. That would be my concern. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to come forward, either for or against? Good evening, welcome.
Hi, I'm AJ Morgan. I live right across the street from him right here. I guess, it's same address as Jason's, but 11780. I feel his pain, with this wetland thing, because you can see my house. I had to really snake it in there and try to get it to fit on there perfectly. He had built his house, I want to say 2 years after mine. I was wondering how he's gonna do it, because I looked at the FEMA plans and all that also, and it is in the floodplain. I just want to point out that since this is a new pond he had put in, that was not originally there. I know that there was an argument, about, preserving the wetland. I think he's done a very good job preserving that area, because that was my concern too, was how is he gonna do this? Where's the water gonna go? He put that pond in on his own, I believe. So I think that, in my opinion, I'm not speaking for him, but I think that makes up for whatever disturbance he's gonna be doing with that shed. As far as infringing, he's not even infringing on the wetland, he's going into the buffer area. And that buffer area, I have the same thing on my side over here, and it made it very difficult for us to get around the house and whatnot when I was building my house. So, the only thing I was more concerned about was walking out my front door and seeing a big shed. And when I first bought the property and built there, I liked the seclusion, because I did have not so great neighbors before, and Jason's been an excellent neighbor. I just I didn't get a chance to talk to him at all, but I would really like to see something along the edge of the lot here This is all garbage, brush, maybe pine trees or something, just so I'm not looking at a huge shed or a garage. But yeah, as far as that, the wetland controversy, Dawn, my other good neighbor, made, it is pretty bad. And that's a whole nother issue on its own. But in retrospect of how much they destroyed that area, this little bit of a garage is not a concern of mine at all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to come forward either for or against? Do we have anyone on WebEx that would like to speak either for or against?
Yeah, this is Jason. I'd like to address AJ's concerns. We had planned on putting some blue spruce up along the road to give us more privacy when we're at the pool, so people aren't driving by, and whatever, and just to give it a little bit more seclusion. So the idea was to plant a row of blue spruce along Merkle, just where I have it. There's grass now. Just do a strip, 10 foot wide, and I don't know, 40 feet or whatever that is, 50 feet, and do a tree every, 10, 12 feet, and they'll grow up and be a nice, beautiful hedge.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak on WebEx either for or against? Okay, I believe we have one email comment.
Yes, sir, is this from your wife, may I ask? Yeah. Do you want me to read it? Okay. Okay, sure. Good afternoon. I am writing in regard to the proposed conditional use permit for Jason Zimmerman. We are the neighbor directly across Merkle Drive from Jason at W202N11780 Merkle Drive. My husband and I are not completely opposed to him adding a garage and pool in his desired location. Our one concern is the view we will have of the proposed new garage from our property. We purchased this property and built our home before Jason built his home there a few years ago. The primary reason we decided to build in this location was because it is private and distant from surrounding neighbors. With Jason's property being primary wetlands, we knew there would never be a home directly across from us, and that was definitely a positive for us when choosing the property. With Jason wanting to put a garage in his proposed location, it would now be directly across from us and in a clear view from our home, which in our opinion is not ideal. There's currently a little bit of a tree line along the edge of his property, which would slightly obstruct the view of the new garage in the summer. However, in winter, once the leaves fall off, it would be seen quite clearly. Our request would be for him to keep the existing tree line and possibly add some additional trees, pine trees, so that the view from our home would not be affected. My husband would be willing to help him plant the trees if Jason needs the help. We hope this is a reasonable request so that we can maintain a pleasant view from our home and Jason is still able to build his garage. I've attached a few pictures from our property so you can see where the new garage would be from our home. Thank you for hearing our concerns on this issue. Leah and Albert Morgan, Merkle Drive, Germantown, Wisconsin. And those photos are also on the dais with this comment.
Any other comments before we close the hearing? Okay, we're closing the public hearing at 7:18. I'll entertain a motion so that we can get some discussion going. Mr. Warren.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit to allow encroachment into portions of a 25-foot wetlands setback pursuant to section 24.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you. Discussion. Commissioners. Josh.
Which line is the floodplain line? Or is that not on there? Is the blue line the setback or the red line, the setback, and the blue line is the wetland?
No, so here, let me go to the exhibit. So the blue line is the existing wetland boundary. The red line is the 25-foot setback from that. And the floodplain, the existing floodplain is not shown on this exhibit, but the way that I interpret the letter of map change, the bold dash line as it comes down through the property would be the new or generally the new proposed floodplain line pending FEMA's determination.
So he's wanting to go 24 feet into the setback, leaving, or approximately, leaving 1.5 feet until the actual wetland. Do you know the elevation change from the corner of the proposed garage to the wetland? If his garage is at 912.5, is there a big drop off next to it, to the west side of it?
I would have to ask the applicant. Jason, did you hear the question?
Yeah, Josh, there is a pretty good gradient dropping down from that corner. It's probably at least a 25% gradient, probably going down that hill. And FEMA, to address the FEMA thing, so it was, they shot it back to my surveyor, because when the surveyor originally went for the modification of the FEMA line, on the northwest side, there's a little prick ditch, whatever you want to call it, that runs through the property, west of the pond. They had their new floodplain line actually intersect with that ditch, and FEMA did not like that. So we modified it and now resubmitted it, but then the government shut down. I believe it's going to be approved. I have no doubt that it's going to be approved how it's proposed now, because that was their big hang up, was that the new line touched that ditch. So
Okay, so is it a 25% gradient? Is it like 3 feet lower? Is it 1 foot lower?
it's
just asked.
probably in 3 feet, it goes down 18 inches minimum.
So to even do any sort of offset in that area, you'd have to fill up, right? Somewhat.
Yeah, correct. And that's where I really didn't want to touch that area a whole lot, just kind of get rid of the ugly stuff and make it look a little prettier, a little more natural.
Does it have a 4 foot? Is it like a full foundation in that corner, or is it?
No, it's slab on grade. So it's slab on grade with the standard, grade beam going around.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yep.
Further questions, comments? Bridget?
Kind of building off what Josh was just asking, I'm still stuck on that storage shed area. It looks like there's a drainage path through there that the storage shed would then block. So not seeing an actual grading plan, it makes it really hard to see how those contours work through there. So basically it goes down from a 912 contour to a 911, and then the next one's a 911. So it is a lower part of the drainage area. Kind of hard to describe with words, but basically right through the middle of that proposed storage shed.
If I could address that. So to the south of where the shed is proposed, that's actually a glacial till pile that that it's just gravel. So that area goes up at a very steep gradient. The top of that hill is probably 6 feet higher. So I believe the top of that hill would be like 918. And it's a fairly small area. When I originally was proposing building the house, that was where I was going to put my septic field. Litzo was going to put it there. We ended up going a different route with the sewer and the water. Anyway, so it's not really a drainage dish. It's just a little bit of a depression and a big bump to the south.
Bob?
Jason, is there a possibility this garage could be shifted to the east and make some of these issues or concerns go away?
Jason, I can answer that. Well, it's proposed, I believe, at roughly 46.5 foot setback. Is that correct, Jason?
46.8.
So the front setback's 45 feet, so
So he's up
He's-
against
yeah.
that.
correct.
If the problem is that I mean, I don't have a problem making the storage shed slightly smaller. If that is what is needed, I can definitely work with you guys. It's a storage shed, yard equipment, that kind of stuff. I'm a remodeler, so I have lots of leftover materials and stuff that it's just, I hate throwing things away, and I'm a little bit of a pack rat when it comes to construction materials. So I like to have it stored inside and able to use it on the next job.
So how much further east would he have to go to satisfy the commissioners in terms of the setback? A couple more feet? And if he could do that by shrinking the storage shed, cut it down by 2 feet.
I'm personally fine with where he's at. Once he's into the setback already, what's reducing it by another 2 feet? I don't think it makes any difference. Might help his side slopes out. But as far as the encroachment here into the setback already, so
I would echo that, and that the encroachment into it compared to being 2 feet less doesn't bother me. It was more my question of it, the floor foundation being undermined from the
Got it.
slope next door to it.
Further questions? Okay, seeing none, we're voting on a motion to approve the conditional use permit with the following 4 conditions. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. And opposed?
Nay.
That motion carries. We're now moving on to item B, Brad and Brenda Kuntz, property owners W156 and 11599 Pilgrim Road. Application to rezone a 0.35 acre property from the B3 general business to the RD2 1 and 2 family residential zoning district. And we will have a public hearing on this as well. Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Coons own a 0.35 acre parcel on Pilgrim Road as highlighted on the screen. The current zoning is B3, a general business. They have owned the property for 25 plus years, and for that amount of time and before, the property has historically been used as a duplex. This graphic shows the existing dwelling and former garage in the back. The 20 by 24 square foot, 480 square foot detached garage became deteriorated and was removed, I believe, in this year. And the Coons would like to replace it. And in the course of conversation with village staff, we discussed the current zoning B3, which unfortunately wouldn't allow them to rebuild that detached garage beyond the current parameters, 20 by 24 or 480 square feet, by way of the non-conforming structure standards in the zoning code. However, rezoning to RD2, the 1 and 2 family district, provides a little bit more latitude as far as the size of a detached accessory building, up to 864 square feet in the RD2 district. And so the Coons are proposing to rezone the property from B3 to RD2, which not only provides them the extra room they're looking for with regard to the detached garage, but it also brings the property into compliance as far as the land use, being a residential duplex 2-family use of a property that's currently in the B3 general business district. As pointed out in the staff report, the RD2 district is consistent with the 2050 plan designation for this area, the MacArthur Kennedy neighborhood, the area in yellow. It's just outside of the village center district, most of which is already zoned B3. as I indicated, appraisal records confirm historical duplex use of the property. And frankly, more of the properties surrounding the Coons property to the north and to the south arguably could or should be rezoned out of the B3 into the residential district to be consistent with and further the intention of the 2050 plan designation of the MacArthur Kennedy neighborhood. So with that, the staff recommendation is to approve the rezoning request to rezone the 0.35 acre parcel from B3 general business to the RD2 1 and 2 family zoning district.
Thank you. Questions for staff? Okay, we'll go into the public hearing. Notice of public hearing, Village of Germantown. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before the Village of Germantown Plan Commission at the Germantown Village Hall located at N112W17001, Mequon Road, Germantown, Wisconsin, and virtually through the WebEx platform to on the following date and at the time noted below, Monday, November 10th, 2025, 6:30 p.m. or later. The purpose of said hearing is to hear all parties, their attorneys or agents, for or against the following application. Rezoning the subject property described below from the B3 General Business District to the RD2 1 family and 2 family residential district pursuant to section 17.21 of the Municipal Code. The applicant is Bradley and Brenda Kuntz, property owners, and the property address is W156 and 11599 Pilgrim Road. Would anybody like to come forward tonight, either for or against this? Is there anybody on WebEx, either for or against? Do we have any comments that came in via email? No comments. Okay, I'm closing this public hearing at 7:31. I'll entertain a motion so that we can get discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve the request to rezone the 0.35 acre Brad and Brenda Coons property from the B3 General Business District to the RD-2 1 and 2 family zoning district.
Second.
Russ, second. Do we have discussion? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Moving on to item C. Community Development Department, possible reconsideration of the Plan Commission's action on October 13, 2025 to deny, in parentheses, and further action on the Lime Glen Solar Farm Site Plan application submitted by One Energy Development LLC, agent for Robert Overmeyer, property owner of the 54-acre property located at N114W12531 Pioneer Road. I'll turn it over to Jeff or Jordan.
Didn't prepare a formal presentation. I do have the presentation from the prior meeting, but if you're not aware, the village board did approve the conditional use permit last week at its meeting for the solar farm use. And at the direction of our attorney, given the fact that site plan applications, the final decisions with the plan commission, so it didn't go forward to board. Given the fact that the board did approve the CUP, our village attorney recommended this to be on the table for possible reconsideration. Considering if the denial is upheld, then we have caught word that the applicant will file an appeal to the Board of Zoning Appeals for that denial decision. That being said, nothing has changed with the project, but I do call attention to the 4 conditions that were added by Plan Commission last time for the CUP and the site plan. And the village board did approve the CUP with those 4 conditions that Plan Commission recommended, which would be part of the site plan if it is reconsidered by Plan Commission.
And thank you. And from my understanding, we will entertain 2 motions this evening. The first motion, which is on page 98, the village attorney recommends that the Plan Commission reconsider their October 13 action to deny the site plan, reconsider that application and take appropriate action. A motion to reconsider by a member who voted for the denial would be appropriate. So I'll entertain a motion by someone who voted for the denial of the application. And I voted to deny.
Josh and I approved it.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion from someone that denied this to, what would the motion be?
To reconsider your action on October 13th to deny the site plan approval?
I guess I'll make that motion. So moved. Do I have a second? Do we have discussion?
Jeff, understanding that the village board has already approved the CUP, this is for clarification for future purposes, but there is no term date on the CUP again, correct? I mean, it's in perpetuity. They get the conditional use without having to come back to get reapproved. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. In the future, if these projects come up, I just want to understand. So I heard comments earlier that there is legislation proposed. There is, based on my research. However, it's only going to give municipalities the ability to vote on projects that are 15 megawatts or more which would not be pertinent to this particular project. However, my question is this: if we put a term on the CUP and legislation changes between now and the term date, forcing that project to come back in front of us to renew that CUP, with the legislation change that potentially gives us the ability to turn that down or to vote against it, what would happen to that project if that were to occur? My thought is why would we not put a term on it in the event that legislation does change and give us the ability to vote it down in the future?
Yeah, I don't know how you anticipate what kind of term to attach to it.
5 years. In perpetuity, if legislation changes now, we have no ability to consider it again, where if we required them to come back in front and get the CUP renewed and legislation changes, we would have the opportunity to do so. So
I think, and I go back to the very limited criteria that the village can attach conditions to based on. And attaching a time limit doesn't seem to be or fall under any one of those criteria. It seems to be a furtherance of the idea that we're unhappy with the state legislation that allows this to take place and preempt our regulation of it.
we're not denying their request for the CUP. We're just saying that the village has the right to review the issuance of a CUP at some point in the future. I don't know how I mean, I didn't read the entire statute, but I don't know how the statute could prevent us from requiring the village the opportunity to review that again at some point in the future. And again, if legislation changes, then we have the ability to vote against it at that point if they have to come back in front of us. If we give them in perpetuity and legislation changes, there's nothing we can do. So
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying. Nobody at the board level brought up that particular type of question, and there was no discussion at the board level with regard to the CUP and adding additional condition dealing with the time frame. So notwithstanding the fact that it's beyond your scope and authority,
right. I'm just asking for
you know,
future.
we can pass along that inquiry to the village attorney and ask, you know, what his opinion would be and whether that would be a legitimate condition to add.
Okay.
So we will do that. And I would simply just redirect your attention to the site plan approval that is before you
Sure.
now.
Yeah, I know when at the village board meeting, we also passed I don't know if I necessarily agree with you in terms of, we did deny this before and the reason was local control, et cetera. And I have no problem going down that path again. But the board at the last village board meeting, we did approve a resolution that addressed a wide variety of proposed legislation, one of which is the solar, and that's taking away our local control. So I know our representative has a copy of that, and he replied to me, and he quoted that these bills are being amended. What that means, I have no idea. But I believe that they're listening to us, and our representative is a firm believer in local control as well. And our hands were being tied. And to address your concern here, I guess we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. But
Okay.
Further discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries, and we need one more
So
motion.
now you're basically back to square one. You're considering the site plan application as presented and recommended by staff with a series of conditions. The Plan Commission on October 13th discussed that and added 4 additional conditions, as Jordan pointed out. And so that is what's on the table and open for your action.
And that is on page 105 of the packet. There's a staff recommendation to approve along with the 10 conditions. Oh, I'm sorry. On page 106, approve with the 15 conditions that we discussed at the last Plan Commission meeting. So I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
And
Second.
again, thank you, Josh. And again, the village board did approve this, so this is more or less a formality. So further discussion. Seeing none? Yes, Russ?
Item 12. Applicant shall submit formal landscape plan that evaluates existing landscape around the project, provides year-round screening around the entire solar farm.
Discussion around that was at the village board meeting that staff would review that and make that decision.
Yeah, it seemed to drift from the discussion that this panel had.
Pardon?
That it seemed to just to drift from the discussion this panel had in regards to it, where it was, we were expecting that to occur. And then at the village level, it became, oh, you know, they'll figure it out and administration will let us know if it's good enough. Because they didn't want it to come back. So I got that, all they have to do is submit that, yes, they looked at it.
Well, I
To address that concern, which was the intent of putting that in, it got weakened at the village hall from the level of discussion I heard.
Did the wording change, Jordan?
The wording didn't change, just,
Maybe the understanding of what the intent was.
I think the question was at board whether or not that plan would be reviewed by the Plan Commission. And at board, it was answered that the intent of it would be a staff level review. I don't know if that's maybe the differing.
Well, the One Energy attorney stood up and was that,
Correct.
he wanted to know if because some of it's redundant to the areas that aren't visible anyway. So he wanted to make sure that he wasn't just being hammered with having to put a tree every square inch because it's the perimeter.
I think it's when he entered the discussion that it drifted from what I thought the intent this panel put forth.
I was
Well,
part
but-
of that discussion, the board level.
Yeah.
And there was concern that this was an overkill, that we were screening areas that didn't need to be screened. And then it kind of morphed into submit a site, a landscaping plan. And then the question was, do you want it to come back to the Plan Commission? And we said, no, staff level could just approve that. The
Sure.
board comment on it at that point.
Okay.
further comments, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Moving on to item D, Hayday and CR Defco LLC, agent for Daniel Douglas and Todd Roscoff, property owners, 40-acre property located on Lilac Lane, east of Schoenlaufen Park. Consultation for a proposed 164 dwelling unit, single-family attached and 2-story townhome residential community. And this is discussion only.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Roscoff family property is shown on the screen. It is approximately 40 acres in size. It's located on Lilac Lane, and it's about halfway between Maple Road on the west and Division Road on the east. The current zoning is A1 agricultural. And the comprehensive plan designates the area as the Schoenlaufen Menominee River District. Preferred land uses in there include institutional, recreational, and open space. And the area was designated or included in the Schoenlaufen district principally because at the time the plan was being considered, the village was in conversations with and concerning a new Department of Public Works facility, possibly being located on the existing site and including portions of the ball fields that exist to the south, and therefore relocate the ball, would there be a need to relocate the ball fields? And it just sort of rippled through to the point where there was a desire to possibly look at and identify an area for a future active recreation, a public park and ball field area. And this is the location that sort of shook out as a suitable location for that, given topography, proximity to Shane Laufin, and some other characteristics of the area. All of that has since changed, except for the fact that the property is still in the Shane Laufin Menominee River district. So with that said, it's, in my opinion, ripe for possible reconsideration as far as the district that it's located within, but that's a determination that would need to be made as part of a comprehensive plan amendment. This evening, we have a consultation discussion to discuss a proposal by Heyday for 164 dwelling unit residential community. And I'd like to introduce Orion Swingruber and Anthony Rodriguez, who are going to be presenting to you this evening their concept plan and discussing their proposal. We need a couple minutes to set up a laptop and get ready, so if you could bear with us for just a minute. Switch it though. All right, you guys good to go?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you very much for the introduction and the forum to speak to you this evening. My name is Ryan Swingruber. I'm one of the developers with Heyday. And so my partner, Josh Woolrick, is right next to me. Anthony Rodriguez, unfortunately, couldn't make it. With that said, I think we'll start relatively quickly and just kind of provide a background on the uniqueness of our product type. A lot of time when we give these presentations, rental or apartments, comes with some sort of predisposition on the renter and the type of product it is. And so while this is a rental, this is a different type of rental. We develop rental homes and townhomes. We primarily develop 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, and 4-bedrooms. Everything comes with a 2-car direct access garage and a driveway apron. And that's an important data point because it's 4-to-1 parking, and it allows us to maximize green space and open space on the property, create a low density, walkable community, less burdensome on the surrounding stormwater system, and prioritize walkability and green space over surface parking. So I'll take you through the product type right now. So we have 2 projects that have been completed to date. One is Heyday Sun Prairie, northeast of downtown Madison by 25 minutes. It's 170 rental homes, primarily 2 and 3 bedrooms. And then we have Heyday Oak Creek, which is in the suburb of Oak Creek, just south of Milwaukee, roughly 20 minutes, and that's 130 rental homes. The first project is on approximately 45 acres. We dedicated a 5-acre park to the city along with that development. And then Oak Creek is roughly on a 90-acre property that was very challenged by wetlands and environmental corridor. We dedicated 15 acres to a nature preserve and developed on roughly 35 acres. So in both instances, very low density. So the site in question is 40 acres, and back to the low density nature of it, it's 4.1 homes per acre, and 15 acres of the site we're proposing as open space, green space. and trying to connect some connectivity to the adjacent park to the west. To TBD on discussions with staff on how that would go, if that would be a private park that we would maintain or be dedicated to the public. But most importantly, we'd have connectivity between the two spaces, and we'd create additional walking trails that connect to our sidewalks throughout the community. Walkability is something that you'll hear me talk about multiple times, but we try to promote it, sidewalks on both sides of the road and a walking trail slash path around the perimeter of our community. So when I talk about the two communities that we have to date, there's 300 rental homes. Almost 50% of our demographic are 50 years of age or older. 10% is 70 years of age, and I'll get into why that is. Largely the single story nature, but also the universal housing concept that we implement. So just a little bit about the product type. As we've said, it's low density attached single family rental homes. On this side, we're going to propose townhomes and the ranches. This is an image from Heyday Sun Prairie. So the uniqueness of this with typical rentals, you typically have a high concentration of one bedrooms, right? 80% of your unit mix, it's 2 to 3 story. They're walk up, stairs, elevators, trash chutes, common hallways, small balconies. You're looking out from your unit, you're seeing a sea of asphalt parking, right? With a high concentration on one bedrooms, you have a much more transient renter, right? A younger demographic that the data says they stay on average about 1.5 years. In our product type, they stay on an average of 3.2 years because of the different nature of the product. So the 4-to-1 parking that I talked about, that's every single home, and we future-proof the garages with electrical vehicle charging capability that comes with every home. So the 4-to-1 is the 2-car direct access private garage with a 22-foot driveway apron. And on the previous slide, everybody has their own private front door. There's no common hallways. You're not sharing those hallways. Your package gets delivered directly to you. You walk home. You have guests, they can park in the driveway. It's not burdensome to the site. So every unit comes with a covered front porch and a side patio. Now, I apologize, but the images we're going to show you are from the 2 projects previously built. Going forward, we've actually expanded the size of these and consolidated one in the back, and we'll show you that in the floor plans. But it's an important design attribute because in typical apartments, you're roughly getting 20 to 30 feet square footage of a balcony or a patio that's not even sufficient for proper seating, where in our product we're going to show you, we're roughly almost 400 square foot of outdoor covered patio and side patio for entertaining. So my partner's brought up an image right now. So the product type at Heyday Germantown would have the front doors oriented on the garage side. On the previous 2 deals, it's been more new urbanist, where the front doors were on the rear side, so everybody was looking out on the green space. That was a preference of the municipalities that we dealt with at the time. More and more, we're hearing that the front doors need to be on the garage side so we can create more diversity in the architecture. That I know was a comment we heard from the public earlier, and we'll show you some examples of that as well. So every deal has 2 patios I've shown you, one side for entertaining, one covered front porch for seasonality. So conservation-oriented development, what does that mean? It means expanding the green space. It means acknowledging adjacent natural features, and it's proper stormwater management, but also implementing bioretention ponds and native species. These are all things that we do in every single development that we implement, because we're always going to have a public open garden courtyard space element, a park-like space. And so to do that properly, we're implementing some stormwater management practices and landscaping practices that honor the surrounding area. And this is just another slide kind of continuing that theme. So with the focus on green space, I've already talked about, it's 15.8 acres on the site plan at Heyday Germantown that will be open space to create that walkability. Just some more examples. This is Heyday Oak Creek. And so now we'll show you a couple images of the interiors of the unit, which is important because I know there's a discussion on luxury. And so we provide all the units with custom, luxury entry home finishes. So what does that mean? 3cm quartz throughout, 9-foot ceilings throughout, GE stainless steel appliances, electrical vehicle charging capability in the garages. All the mechanical utility closets are in the garage, so we can access them with smart locks, smart thermostats, smart water sensors to monitor the water heater, so we don't intrude on you in your home. It minimizes noise. It's all high efficiency furnaces and water heaters. LED dimmable lighting throughout. Kohler tubs, showers, and faucets. And the cabinets are fabricated local here in Milwaukee, Quest cabinets. So they're a higher end plywood cabinet, soft close drawers and doors. And then every home is equipped with what we call a Heyday hub, whether it's a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3 or 4. And it comes with a side-by-side washer and dryer that's more consistent with single-family living, additional storage, work-from-home desk, or a folding table, or a Costco closet. The other thing that we do when we lay out the units is we make sure that every single bedroom can accommodate a king-size bed. The first 2 bedrooms, and in the whether it's a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom, everybody has a walk-in closet with Melamine custom closet systems that can be adapted to the use. And I referenced earlier the universal housing, so that's an important component. So while we're low density, we're single story through the majority of the development. And universal housing means no steps, no stairs, 32-inch wide approaches, and easily adaptable to type B ADA housing. So if you have needs and mobility issues, we can easily adapt the unit above the required 2% minimum of the ADA units that we have to provide. And so it's an important feature and why we have 50% of our demographic that's 50 years of age or older, because these homes allow people to age in place. And another important point is, while the homes are larger on average and their substitution for home ownership, they allow our seniors to downsize and step out of their existing house, which frees up housing stock. So a common theme we hear is we need more for sale housing. Well, we're not providing that. We're providing a substitution to home ownership, and it allows our older demographic to sell their home, have a lock and leave lifestyle, and open up existing housing stock that's already here. We take care of all snow removal, landscaping, and taxes. And so when you take all those things into account, and the median sales price of a home in Germantown today over the last 18 months, and you look at the affordability between renting with us or home ownership, we come out about 25% more affordable. So that dollar number is important when you think about a younger demographic that constitutes the other side of our rental profile. We're targeting people that want to downsize or people that want to step into home ownership. So younger Gen, X, Y, and Z that are saving for that home that might not have that 12 to 20% down, but want to live in Germantown, want to make this their future home, they can rent with us, save based upon the median sales price of homes over the last 18 months and where interest rates are, and eventually move into something that opens up. And so back to the site plan, we are leveraging existing infrastructure to the north with North River Lane. Right now that terminates roughly about 200 feet short of the property. We'd be proposing extending that and creating a public cul-de-sac that would access our property, provide connectivity to the north and the south, and future access if anything were to happen to the property to the east. Right now, we have the townhomes that are 2-story, and we'll show some elevations of those. We're currently building them in Cottage Grove, Wisconsin, and Aurora, Illinois, of what those look like. I know one of the commentary was on the architecture, and so the previous 2 deals were a little bit more garage-centric because of a new urbanist approach of putting the front doors on the rear side of the building. At this particular project, we're proposing the front doors on the garage side. So it's important to note that while they can look somewhat monotonous, and I heard the comment on color, we can change fenestration with the garages and the front porches and provide different options to create more variety. And then also by implementing a 2-story townhouse, which is roughly 36 of them out of the 164, which is geared toward a younger demographic, that'll break up some of the monotony and the repetitive nature of the single story. So now bringing up the renderings of the 2-story townhomes. This is what those would look like. These are rear loaded, hence we have them oriented to front the public road on Lilac. So board and batten, horizontal siding, we use stone and brick. And I think from an architecture standpoint, given that was a commentary in the public comments from Trustee Baum, one of the things we like to do is early on is if we are encouraged to proceed, we'll have a working session and we'll provide multiple options on the elevations, colors, stone, different variations of fenestration and front porches, columns, things of that nature, placement of stone to create a different sense of variety. And we'll work with the municipality and the staff to create variety through the elevations. The other thing is when it comes with rentals too, which are typically 1-bedrooms, as I talked about a little bit earlier, there's always a concern on the burden of traffic, burden on school, proper taxes. And so a couple things with us, we're low density, but so by nature, we're less burdensome on the traffic. Number 2, only 10% of our current demographic have school-age children, or 10% of the homes. So we're low burdensome on the schools. And then from a tax standpoint, we pay more than a typical apartment because we're larger on average, and our monthly rent is higher than your traditional one-bedroom apartment. The national median rent for a one-bedroom is roughly just short of $2,100. Our average rent's typically around $2,600 to $2,800, which at first sticker shock might seem high, but when you consider snow removal, property taxes, all repairs and maintenance, landscaping is all baked into that. Affordability or price point access that we talked about, it is cheaper than home ownership in the markets that we engage. So at this time, I'd be more than happy to take questions. I think the last thing I would say is I've stressed that we are different than traditional rentals for a variety of reasons. And any concerns with the product type, we are always engaging municipalities who want to be in long term. We are not merchant developers. We do not build something and flip it. We put long-term debt on it. Examples of that is at Oak Creek and Sun Prairie. We use 5-year Fannie Mae debt after we built the deal. And we also, the decisions that we make that go into the buildings are geared towards a long-term hold. So we plan on being in the community for a long term. So we don't cut corners on cost, materials, the finishes, and we want to work with municipalities collaboratively to make sure that we are addressing all the needs and concerns that this body might have. I know tonight architecture was one of them, and like I said before, we've heard that before, and we're actively working on putting together a design manual. Think of it like when you go buy a car and you have all different options of trim, color, finishes, seats. We're doing that right now with our products, so we can work collaboratively to give you options in stone, brick, colors, different materials, board and batten, different roof shingles, and different fenestration in the framing to create variety, because we have heard that before. But I think, unfortunately, the other two deals are more new urbanist and more garage-centric, and so they come off a little monotonous. But at the end of the day, I think the positives of our product type and what we're offering and the target demographic is critical. And the data in that is at Oak Creek, the median income of our tenants right now, we're 99% occupied. We have 129 homes occupied out of the 130. Median income's $155,000. Average age is 47 years of age. At Sun Prairie, we have 170 rental homes. I think we're 166 occupied to date. And the average income there is $135,000. So this is a different type of renter. They're more sophisticated. They stay in the unit longer. They're looking to buy a home eventually. They're looking to downsize. They have different needs. So it's not your traditional renter, and they're long-term, just consistent with the way that we build the product and what we're trying to deliver. We're trying to deliver missing middle housing to fill a need that is so desperate in so many municipalities. And so I'm happy to answer any questions. And if this is something that welcomes further discussion, my partner and I will continue to spend money on feasibility to try to bring this development to fruition. But at the same time, if it's something that the commission doesn't feel is warranted for this community, we respect that. And my partner and I always say a quick no's better than a long discussion. So we're here to answer any questions. We're excited about being here, and we thank you for the time.
Well, good seeing you in person. Appreciate the presentation again. If this does move forward, when would you anticipate or guesstimate when you would move dirt?
Ideally, we would like to start next year. I mean, realistically, with the proper application process and working with Jeff and staff and understanding what that is, and this is a comp plan amendment that we take serious, roughly that process takes 8 to 10 months in our experience. So the goal would be to start moving dirt in July or August, but we would want to start next year. There are some challenges with the utilities. We're working through how we're going to get sanitary sewer to the site. There's some challenges with the soil. We're willing to spend money on a geotechnical. There's a lot of bedrock. That also is an important data point for our product. We don't have basements because seniors, we're trying to prevent the stairs, right? And so having slab on grade and only frost walls at 4 feet, even though the sanitary's got to get 8 feet down, there's more likelihood that our product could work here because the site's very challenging from a bedrock topography standpoint. And utility, but we're willing to move forward and spend the time and money on the proper geotechnical and work with staff to evaluate that.
Speaking of money, what's your total investment on those? And presuming it's going to be a phase one, you're not going to have multiple phases.
No, and that's another question too. We do one plat and CSM for the whole property, and it's one ownership entity. This isn't an ownership structure. So there's one ownership group that'll get a construction loan, build it out, put perm financing. We'll have a third party property manager that's licensed in the state of Wisconsin to operate the property. There will be full-time staff. There'll be roughly a 2,000 square foot leasing and maintenance facility. that will house a property manager and 2 maintenance staff. We'll also have an independent maintenance building, so where there's 24-hour maintenance, which is also important for seniors if there's an issue with the unit. But roughly by pro forma, don't hold it to me, but this is a minimum around a $60 million project that we would be looking to bring in a commercial lender like a Northwestern Mutual that we've already had discussions with to bring this to fruition by next year.
And Jeff, if this does move forward, I would ask that similar to other developments, residential, we do the impact fees, the tax revenue, impact to the school district.
That would be part of the standard staff report.
And also
for-
the multifamily, single family ratio mix in terms of where we fall. that
Right.
Type of thing. Okay. Questions, comments for the applicant? Yeah, Bill.
I didn't see, what is the parking situation on the townhouses?
It's 4-to-1 as well. My apologies. So anything that we built that has Hades logo on it has 4-to-1 parking. Part of the thesis is to create single family living, you provide a 2-car direct access private garage that's 21 foot deep that can fit an SUV. So it's not cutting corners with a 22-foot driveway apron. So there is 4-to-1. And that allows us to maximize the 15 acres of green space and walkability because there's less impervious surface. So as you know, less stormwater management is required.
Okay, thanks.
But that's a rendering of the deal we're doing in Cottage Grove. It's 25 minutes east of downtown Madison. That's 114 townhomes, all 2 and 3 bedroom, 2-bedroom with an office/den and 3 bedrooms. It's roughly a 50-50 split, but everybody parks 4-to-1.
Looks nice. Thank you.
Further questions, comments? Josh.
Where would you be bringing in utilities from as far as sewer and water?
I believe it's coming right now from the east, all the way down to the end of Lilac as a division. Off the top of my head, I believe it just because the nature, the site's actually quite flat, and the way the topography moves is going to move east to west. So if we're going to go gravity fed. So there's been discussions. We're looking at the most viable option. How far is it to extend it from division is quite far, and the bedrock can be complicating. So we're going to spend some money on the geotechnical to evaluate that. And then we've also talked about a lift station that would be funded and managed and by us privately. So I know there was concerns about that initially talking with planning staff, not to say that that's the direction we're going yet, but if we're one entity owner and we're managing the whole property, we would do a development agreement, we would build it, we make sure there's capacity, and we take the responsibility for maintaining it.
And as far as the road coming off of River Lane, you said it's about 200 feet short.
Yeah, currently from the Aurora Medical, it's 200 feet short, and then we'd be extending it and creating that public cul-de-sac, right? That would allow access to our property and then future to the east. It's always it's interesting when you talk about connectivity because sometimes people want full connectivity. Residents don't want the full connectivity all the way to south because additional traffic can cut through. So I thought a good, in between would be a nice roundabout that you can come from Aurora, access our community, and it provides future easement and utilities to go to the east, assuming that 32-acre parcel ever got developed.
That would all be Heyday funded.
Correct. Yeah, on the road. Yep. And we talk about that on our project justification memo that we submitted, that we see that as utilizing existing public infrastructure that isn't quite finished that will provide a benefit. And the reality is if there are people that live in Lilac that want to cut through, they will be able to do that. How frequent that happens, I don't know, but it should be, from a TIA standpoint, less impactful than bringing it all the way down, given the low traffic counts on Lilac. And so we'd just be generating the traffic from our community going north, which makes sense out to the major corridors.
Jeff, what was that thing with the homeowner to the west of Aurora when he had to get a new septic? They own the sewer line or something?
Aurora is currently served by a private force main that is located on the south side of their property, and it runs to the east. And that property owner west of Aurora wanted to tie into that. And I believe Aurora put up some hurdles, and ultimately the property owner put in their own on-site septic system.
So this wouldn't affect, putting that road through would have nothing to do with that?
I don't believe the road will have any impact on it. I think that whole force main issue is a secondary option that the village is going to be interested in examining and possibly cleaning up if there's a way to tie in Aurora into a public extension of sewer. that would be ideal. But those are concepts that are being evaluated as we speak. I don't know if, Kevin, if you're on board tonight? Our village engineer, Kevin Driscoll.
He's not
indicated he
online as
might-
far as I can tell.
Okay. At some point, he'll be able to provide some further information, but he's involved in the investigation into sanitary sewer and water to the site.
All right.
Bridget?
Is the right of way to River Lane already dedicated, or will you need to get approval from the property owner to the east?
So bringing North River Lane to the property line into the cul-de-sac we're proposing, it's, yeah, there's a right of way already dedicated.
Is the right of way dedicated for the cul-de-sac itself? It looks like it encroaches on the parcel to the east. Yes.
That's a good question. The right of way, I think,
It doesn't exist yet. no.
yeah, it doesn't exist yet. I would think they were, I don't want to put words in the adjacent property owner's mouth, but might welcome it, right, if we're funding the construction of the public infrastructure and provides access to their parcel at a later date. But we will, but with all things, with all neighbors, depending on how this meeting goes, we decide to move forward, we will engage the surrounding neighbors, not only the adjacent property owner, but everybody to our south on Lilac, because I think it's important that if we're going to be here long term, we're going to be neighbors with everybody. We want to sit down and understand people's concerns and educate them on the product type to make sure they understand what exactly we're bringing here.
I'm pleased that you're going to do the neighborhood meetings, and I know we chatted last week when I was out of the country. The townhomes on Lilac, you may or may not get pushback on that, and you mentioned that if there is concern from the neighbors that you could relocate those. Is that
Yeah, and it was no different than Trustee Bauer's commentary on the architecture. One of the things to create variety is we could not aggregate all the townhomes together. We could disperse them amongst the community to break up maybe what one would perceive as monotony, as well as working on other things like fenestration and different materials. But yeah, we're open to moving the puzzle pieces around that are that is most acceptable to the surrounding community. Because once again, the goal is to be accepted as much as possible and educate everybody on what this is. So we're more than open to moving those things around if it appeases the neighbors to the south and makes for a better experience as whether you're pedestrian or vehicular going through the community.
Further questions, Bill?
Is there any right of way between these two parcels here? Here we got the roundabout and you got the entry onto Lilac at the bottom.
No.
Is the village had never planned a street through there?
Well, the village anticipated River Lane being extended south to Lilac at some point if necessary. But the more we looked at this concept and discussed it with the developer, the Public Works Department and the highway folks indicated that they kind of like the idea, provided that River Lane has the sort of terminus that would be easily to navigate as far as plowing. And finishing off, North River Lane as far as snow maintenance and that sort of thing. The idea that it could serve both sides, if you will, the 40-acre parcel we're looking at and the 30-plus acre to the east, with access to both north and to the south, makes a lot of sense. It's not anticipated to be a thoroughfare by any stretch. It's simply a local street. And if you can accommodate the traffic in this similar manner that would serve the local needs, seems like a really good alternative to not require another quarter mile of public right of way to maintain.
Bob?
So a couple of bullets here. I guess I'm concerned too with the architecture. At least on the previous photos, it just looks too much the same, too cookie cutter. I'll be interested to see how you try to break that up with colors or styles and things like that. And I know there's options out there, but just my first reaction was it's all white.
Sure. And I like I said, I would, if we proceed forward, there are two things we'll do. We'll do a design deck that shows you the options, because we're not developers that come in and just say, take it or leave it. We're going to say, this is kind of the a la carte we have to work with. What is the preference that's more consistent with the village of Germantown and the things that you guys desire from an architectural standpoint? Second, we always do a 3D virtual kind of flyover of the community of how it's going to feel. unfortunately, with renderings as good as they are and 2D plans, it doesn't resonate as well. So I think if you give us the opportunity, we'll be able to show you some different options. And I'm confident that we can break up the monotony and through materials, fenestration, and just different product, how we place it throughout the community, right?
Is that the process you did with Oak Creek?
Yeah, that's correct. So Oak Creek, originally we went in with a lot more board and batten, modern farmhouse, whites and blues and reds. And to your point, they wanted the stone and they wanted to see kind of a flyover and then see like where were the sixplex buildings, where were the fourplex buildings, how were they oriented? We had less on the public road as you entered, and then we oriented them in a manner to create two garden courtyards. They're roughly 1 to 2 acres each, the center of the community. So, and then we had them fronting I-94, the front doors of them. So yeah, we worked through that process and we ended up adding different stone, 2 different types colors, and then 2 different types of shingles as well. And then moved away from all board and batten to more of a horizontal and board and batten.
Clearly, the issue of monotony with respect to the existing projects isn't an issue for the occupants. You're fully occupied.
Yeah, and I think I go back to, listen, it's not a take it or leave it. I'm more than happy, and I've heard this commentary from other municipalities, and we are, we want to engage desirable residential, bedroom communities, and we understand architecture is important. It hasn't been an issue in the sense that if you walk the interior of the units, we don't spare any expense. We don't have a traditional amenity like a swimming pool or a fitness center, and some might look at that as a negative. I think that's a positive. Those things cause noise and a different type of demographic. We really are going for low density, serene, peace and quiet. Nobody lives above and below the unit, so you don't have to worry about hearing anybody running around. And the other thing I'd bring to your attention is we're happy to share construction details. In a typical apartment construction assembly, the walls that divide you and me, our neighbors, are designed to roughly a 52-53% STC, sound transmission coefficient, how they measure it. We design our walls to condo quality, roughly 62 is on our plans. And that's what we build because we want peace and quiet. We want a certain demographic. We want it to feel a little bit higher end. So the money that you traditionally spend on pools and fitness centers and clubhouses, we put back into the unit on high-end finishes. And I'd welcome to walk any trustee or mayor or village president through our product type because if you were to ask for referrals from whether it's Mayor Esser or Dan Berkowitz at Oak Creek, this is a process that we work through the concerns, but I truly believe the benefit of our product, that it's so unique and different than traditional apartments, outweigh some of the concerns on the architecture. But with that said, we will provide a comprehensive plan and rendering and modeling and materials to select to work with you guys to try to get as close as possible to what you want to see in terms of variety of the architecture.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I really like the layout. The green area that you have there, the buffer with the park, and the continuity with the trails going into the park. Do you realize that the public using the park would take that trail into your development? Is there a concern about that?
No, sir, because at Sun Prairie, we dedicated 5 acres to a public park that will be programmed with a pavilion and more walking trails. And what we found is those type of people that frequent that, they're dog owners, they have children, or they're older demographic for exercise. We want them to see our product because that's a future person that might be downsizing and open up the housing stock. And the walkability and the social and having a social, more community feel is really critical to us because the data shows that when people are happy and they know their neighbors, there's a higher likelihood that they're going to renew and stay. And that's proven out at Sun Prairie. And there's no coincidence that my partner and I in each deal so far, and Cottage Grove for that matter, has a 2-acre park. We have made a dedication where the municipality welcomed it if they wanted the land. And if they didn't, we maintained it, landscaping, the trails, signage, picking up the trash, because we view that as not only amenity to our residents, so the public. So that's a little long-winded, but we would welcome people using it because we see that as a public benefit, but also benefit to our community.
Sidewalk on both sides.
Correct. Yep.
You plowing those or shoveling them?
Yep, that's included in the rent. So you don't do your driveway or
Because
sidewalk.
the village is getting out of that business, FYI.
I would too if I could, but
So you mentioned, the locals understand there's a lot of bedrock here.
Yep.
And on some past developments, that was a lightning rod for surrounding property owners. Concerns about the blasting damaging their utilities, their bedrocks. So I would build in, if this moves further down the road, build in time for certainly bedrock excavation and that. It's going to complicate your utility work for sure. and trying to appease the concerns that the abutting property owners would have.
Understood. So Cottage Grove, that's under construction right now. Horizon Construction, based out of Madison, they've been the contractor on all 4 of our projects. And so I only reference them because we have a bedrock issue at Cottage Grove. And we're not blasting there. We're just chipping away out with the equipment, right? Because there were some concerns next to public utilities and some of the neighbors. And so as much as feasibly possible, we are going to minimize that, right? And I think we'll know more, and I'm optimistic because we don't have to go as deep as a traditional developer because we have no basements or significant piers or foundations because structurally we're only 1 story or wood frame. I'm hopeful that the geotechnical proves out that it's not as difficult and that using heavy equipment will allow us to chip through. And our footprint is that much less, so we're not going in and making one big hole, right? I mean, it's very strategic. We are building small little houses around, so hopefully that minimizes the amount of disturbance on the bedrock to as much as it can.
Jeff, this 4.1 density, that's pretty low, isn't it?
Relatively speaking to what would be permitted in the Mequon-Lannon corridor, which would be the logical neighborhood, if you will, to put this property in if it were taken out of the Shane Laufin Menominee River District. The property immediately to the east is in the Mequon-Lannon corridor. Land to the north is in the Mequon-Lannon corridor. And in the Mequon-Lannon corridor, single family detached is allowed up to 3 dwelling units per acre, 2 and 4 family up to 6 dwelling units per acre, and the traditional multifamily apartment up to 10 dwelling units per acre. So this is on the low end of that range as far as a newer product for the village, a single family attached and townhome 2-story.
Yeah, and full disclosure, our single story is 5-to-1. We can maximize that. Our townhomes are 10-to-1. So we have both those product types on there, and we're still at 4-to-1. So we've really, when we put up conservation-oriented development strategies and things like that, we've really tried to be respective of the wetlands to the northwest and the park. And so in theory, the way it's designed, we could get more density, but that's not the goal. I know that's a foreign thing. Most of the time, developers are trying to push that. We're trying to be respective of the surroundings and also what the comp plan says.
Future drives to the east, what are your thoughts there? These are private drives to the east?
Oh, everything within our community?
You're showing future drives going to the east. You have it dashed like that's
Oh, sorry.
a future option.
Oh, that would just be, that's a private drive. I mean, that was just showing if the adjacent landowner was to do something where they could connect in. We, I guess, technically wouldn't be proposing that other than providing an easement or working to establish an easement for access and utilities.
Any thought that if this is very successful, that you might purchase the land to the east and continue the development?
Yeah, so full disclosure, we offered on both of the properties at first, and the the landowner to our east went with somebody else, and that's fine. Based on demand and some of our data, we could see this being, potentially for phase 2, absolutely. This is a community we want to be in. So at 160 units in a perfect world, we really are targeting like 200 to 250 when we do stuff. But we're low density developers, so it's not easy to find land.
So of course, when people hear the R word, renting, that's always a lightning rod for a lot of people.
Sure.
But I think you talk about the missing middle and the age group, the demographics, and I personally think it's a pretty good fit. The things that you mentioned, like the no step entries, single floor living, extra wide doorways and hallways, ADA compliant. You got me thinking what my future location is going to be, future home and stuff like that. And, I think it's filling a big niche that a lot of communities are lacking right now.
Yeah, I mean, to age in place, right? There's in the rental world, what exists to go from your home to IL/AL, right? And while those eventually are options we'll all have to face, to age in place and have the feeling of being at home and still maintaining your own house, that there's a pride that's associated with that. And so right now, 50% of our renters are 50 or older, right? And I think as our product becomes more well-known in the market, that number is going to creep, because where can you go find quality housing that meets your needs when you're an active senior, a downsizer, mobility issues, a baby boomer. I mean, 10,000 a day retire, and that's going to continue till 2033, right? And there's a shortage of housing in this country, but specifically for the baby boomers, right? And affordability is becoming an increasingly more difficult. So when we talk about the spread between homeownership and what we're offering, we take that serious because we need to create that spread to attract somebody to say, I'm going to downsize, I'm going to rent this 3-bedroom, 1,700 square feet. I'm going to save, I'm going to have a lock and leave lifestyle. And conversely, the other person that's young, that can't write that down payment check right now, that wants to be here, can save that 25% spread on what it costs to own a home here today. And it just opens up housing stock and it provides a substitution from your traditional apartment. There's nothing wrong with traditional apartments. I used to work in that business, but the majority of what they build is high density 1-bedrooms. And that certainly has a place. But I think in communities like this that are highly desirable, good schools, older demographic, our product is much more better appeal and fits with the fabric of the community and offers a real viable housing option, right? And if the biggest challenge we have is our architecture because it's single story and it makes it a little bit more difficult because of the monotony, we'll work through those things. But I strongly feel the benefits outweigh some of the challenges that we have, which is low density in architecture, but we'll work through that stuff. But it's a viable housing option for a demographic that desperately needs it today in this country.
My last comment is, I like the cul-de-sac, how you don't have a connection from the north to the south. It stops at that point. I'm only concerned that cul-de-sacs can become attractive nuisances.
Sure.
People like to park there if there's no lighting, street lighting and things like that. So might be a better solution there than the cul-de-sac, but you do need turnarounds for fire department.
Yeah, I mean, the way I would approach is in Oak Creek, it wasn't like a true cul-de-sac. We had a center focal point with lighting, stone, and landscaping that highlighted as you arrived, transition from public to private. So I think if we implement the proper lighting strategies and we work with the municipality on what's preferred in street lights in terms of decorative lumens, what that's going to look like, and create that connectivity, walkability, and upgrade the landscaping, I think just by creating that centralized landscape feature at the middle of it prevents where I know you're going. A traditional cul-de-sac, it's just all pavement and people might have a tendency to park, but we're going to create more of a sense of arrival and a real entrance. So I think that will prohibit that. And then also it is our front door, so we'll monitor and maintain it.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Further questions, Russ?
In your current developments, do you track your leases, where they're coming from? Are they coming from the communities you're built in, giving up or potentially moving on from their current home ownership to your model?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I mean, I think the data shows on average it's roughly 8-mile pull. So I would say half of those people are coming more within like a 3 to 5 mile radius. The other half is probably 10 to 15 if we dug into the data. It's an excellent question. We'll look into that more. I can tell you the number one reason people move out right now and our occupancy is high and our retention runs roughly about 72% is they're buying a house. So
yeah, I'm more considering the opportunities that this creates for homeownership churn in our community as it stands. So we have homeownership that's occurring in aging population, if you want to call 50s aging, I guess. But the opportunity when those families, empty nesters, downsize or move into a product like this is a new family moves in with young kids.
correct. Yeah, that's
And it
good.
helps stabilize student enrollment population, right? And that's a goal of this community, I think, to continue to do. Are you seeing that occur with your product?
We are seeing that. I mean, the exact data I don't have the top of my head, but I do know that, as I said earlier, 10% of the homes have school-age children. So we're not as burdensome on the school when you say about stabilizing enrollment. Candidly, we're not bringing a lot of kids into the municipality.
Yeah, I guess I'm less concerned about students moving into your development and more, what is that impacting current homeownership in this market?
The point is exactly right. What's happening is, you can get the data, but we're absolutely having empty nesters who currently live in our communities in Oak Creek generally, and Sunbury generally, leave their homes in those communities and move into our community. And then those homes, which are usually older and maybe a little bit of work, but they're a lot closer to entry level than anything that's being built by public home builders or
Excuse me, can you go into the microphone, please? Sorry.
So yeah, is that on?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so we're absolutely seeing that in Oak Creek and in Sun Prairie, residents that currently live in those communities are leaving their homes and moving into our product. Their homes are then usually a little bit older, may need some work done to them. They're a lot closer to entry-level homes than anything that's currently being built by a public home builder or by a regional home builder. Usually like our Cottage Grove deal, there's new homes across the street that are being built from our Cottage Grove deal. Those are starting at $600,000. And so very often you'll see someone leave an older home and that'll resell to a younger family that is bringing, like you said, potentially bringing kids into the community to kind of backstop the schools.
Yes, it'd be interesting to actually see the data on your end. But I believe the MD Rofers report references this exact process because we get these neighborhoods that become stagnant and then we actually have a declining enrollment in our schools. So it'd be interesting to see if a product like this moved in to the neighborhood, what type of increase we would get from a positivity standpoint of maintaining and balancing student enrollment.
We should be able to find out through going through our data how many of the residents at our communities had a Oak Creek or Sun Prairie address previously, and then cross-reference that with age, and we'd have a sense of what percentage of our communities are kind of filling this kind of circular housing structure that we're talking about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Further questions, comments, Bill or Bob? I'm sorry.
First question to kind of piggyback what you guys were just talking about. You guys mentioned, the 8-mile radius. I just noticed based on size of the project, Oak Creek at 107 or 130, Sun Prairie 170. Their population is double ours though. So I'm just curious, you believe there's a market here for the same size of project as there is there, given where you say most of your customers or renters are coming from?
Yeah, so with Oak Creek, we phased it, and the way we did that is we bought some adjacent land, no different than one of the questions regarding the adjacent property to the east. So we're actually doing a phase 2 there. We're starting our application. We're going to add another 75 to 90 units to take it over 200 at Oak Creek, and then Sun Prairie, we're doing a phase 2 as well. So I would say that regards to the size of those projects will exceed this one. But based on the reach, we'll look at the data. When I'm referencing the 8 to 10, when you're running that and you're looking at the population in the northern Milwaukee suburb areas, it's not just Germantown we're pulling from, it's other areas. But we're highly sensitive to the data, and we run a great deal of market analysis in terms of occupancy, existing apartments, what's the median price of a home, what's the home traded for in the last 18 months. So we take all that into account when we look at how many units we're going to build. And the unique thing too is out of 160 proposing here, remember there's 2s, 3s, and 1s. And so the 1 is nice. We've seen a lot of seniors that can't afford a 2 or a 3, but just want that single story living and the ADA type design attributes that are renting, because it's just a much more accessible price point, right? Because everybody has price sensitivity. So I think diversity in the unit types allow us to hit a couple different demographics as well.
Okay. Typically 1-year lease terms?
12 to 14 months.
12 to 14.
That's what, that's the preference. We don't do anything short term. In some situations, we'll go 18 months, but the preference is to have 12 to 14 month leases.
Okay. And how long? I know you commented on your occupancy rates, but how long from you receiving your occupancy permit after construction to the units rented? Like what typically
12
is
months.
12 months.
Yeah, it's typical.
Okay. So a home may sit vacant for 12 months or?
No, 12 months is for to stabilize the whole community. So the nice thing is like with a traditional apartment, you'll build at a higher density and you got to get the floors done and then fire suppression. And so you're kind of waiting on the whole animal, so to speak. With us, we build pods and phases of the home. So we do like 4 buildings at a time, and then we move the construction fence. So we're leasing those units as they come online. It just takes roughly 12 to 14 months for the entire community to be absorbed at that number. So we never have anything sitting for 12 months.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. From your website, it seems as though or appears that you only deal in rentals. So I was just curious, what do you do if your house is vacant for a significant period of time? What do you do with that? Are you just
dropping the rent or
dropping the rent? You're not.
Like I always say with housing, it's not all or nothing game, right? If we were off by the rents by $100, $200 and you drop the rent, somebody eventually rents that apartment. That hasn't happened. At Sun Prairie, we had a wait list for a while. Oak Creek, we only have 1 available unit heading into the winter season when people don't rent for seasonality. So that one might sit, we'll see. But there's been a large amount of demand for this, because I think it goes back. I mean, we didn't coin the term missing middle housing. It just doesn't exist anymore in this country. I mean, one of the stats we always like to talk about is the national home builders. If you look back in the 80s, almost 40% of the housing stock every year that they delivered was entry-level homes. Today, that's 8. They don't build it anymore because they can't make any money off of it. So there's a huge gap that exists for smaller, more price-sensitive housing for people, because not everybody can afford a 600,000, entry level home. So this fits that missing middle option.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, my only thought, just curious on when you say that the demographics of people are able to move in, save some money from owning a home. I guess, when you say saving money, is that taking into account the fact that they're gaining equity by paying off a mortgage versus just paying rent and never generating any equity? I mean, when you say saving money, is that factored into that?
Yeah, because the average somebody lives in our community is roughly about 3.2 years, right? And if you look at an amortization curve when you're starting to pay into your mortgage, your first 5 years, you're not building any real equity. You're just paying the interest. If you look at the curve, it's not to the back end of the life of the 30-year fix that you start really paying that down. So the data says at a minimum, you want to be in a home for 8 years. I would argue that's probably a little bit longer now because of where rates are. The days of sub-4 mortgage rates are over. And the interesting thing is 72% of people that have a mortgage today is under 4%. And they're not giving up those homes. And the hope is providing this option, seniors that don't want to maintain the home, they're getting older, they want to pull that equity out because of all the appreciation and move into a different phase, we can offer that. But the dynamics of the housing market, less product getting built, no entry-level homes, where mortgage rates are, inflation, it's just becoming that much more challenging. And so we go back to, can we create a spread between what it costs to live in Germantown? We look at what the last 18 months show in terms of trades, where the homes are at, price. We look at what the fixed rate of a mortgage is. And the other thing is the majority of people that get a mortgage today that are younger, they don't put 20% down. The data shows over the last 5 years, 12% down. So you're paying mortgage insurance premium. And that only adds to the cost of the mortgage. And so when we look at that number, we will provide the village with data over the last 18 months of what's trading in your market, in your zip code, what our rent is, and the actual claim that you're going to save this much money a month. Because remember, that's part of our leasing pitch. Somebody walks through the door and they're younger, they might be like, wow, this is a little bit more than a traditional 2-bedroom, like in a garden style with an elevator that's 1,100 square foot. Ours is 1,450. And we show them this analysis says, hey, this is everything you get, but this is how you can save if you eventually want to buy a house in Germantown. And so we have to have the data to back that up because that's a key part of our sales pitch. Thanks.
Further questions? Josh?
Do you only rent, right?
Yeah, we don't, when we plat these, if we were going to sell them at some period of time, you would plat everyone individually, and then we'd have to have condo docs because you're sharing walls and roofs. We don't do that.
I just wondered, like with the one on Lannon, how there's kind of 3 levels, townhomes, side by sides, onto the single family phase where they sell them. Kind of everything you're describing, but in one subdivision.
Yeah, and that's not to say, listen, 10 years down the road, if somebody bought it from us and wanted to do that, I mean, they would have to come in front of, the municipality and go for something like that. But that's not who we are. That's not our expertise. We're really trying to provide a substitution for home ownership.
Further questions, comments? All right. Again, good seeing you again in person. I think this is very exciting, and I want to thank you for your interest in Germantown. So
yeah, and I want to thank you for all the really detailed and thoughtful discussion. Like in these meetings, we want to hear all the concerns, and we want to be able to educate not only staff but the public. And I want to thank Jeff and the staff too, because a lot of times when we deal with municipalities, it's hard. They just point you to the code, but regardless of what happens, the staff that you guys have been incredibly detailed, responsive, and professional. So regardless of how it all shakes out, I thank them for that, because that's a professional courtesy we don't always get. So thank you.
Jeff, from a next step standpoint.
Yeah, I was just going to point out a couple of things that will need to happen. We talked briefly about the comprehensive plan amendment that would have to be approved as a prerequisite to this moving forward. That's something we'll work with Ryan and talk about in the coming weeks. Obviously, they're going to continue working on their investigations into providing sanitary sewer and water. Stormwater will be an issue as well. Ultimately, either a certified survey map may be required, it depends, possibly to dedicate a portion of right of way for River Lane or something to that effect. But for the most part, we're looking at a site development plan. Would be the next logical large application that would be presented, and that would be the point at which we would discuss more details with regarding architecture, building materials, and the like. But we'll continue to work with Ryan and his group going forward.
Just really quickly, one other thing. I was curious if it's possible, based on what you guys have heard, if there's anybody that at this stage wouldn't be in support of us moving this forward, that like you've already kind of understood what it is that we're building here, and you don't feel like, regardless of some of the answers we've given today, that this is the type of project that you would think you would support in this community.
You've got a thumbs up from me, so.
I would just like to be part of the architectural part of it as far as, you know, as it moved further.
Well, you seem to indicate that we would be, so that's important.
That's great. That's, just want to make sure we're not misreading the room, so.
Yeah, you're not misreading, so. All right, well, thank you very much. Moving on to item E, American Architectural Group, Inc., agent for Frank Stengel and Weimer Bearing and Transmission, Inc., property owner N112W13131 Mequon Road, site plan application for a 45,000 square foot addition to the existing 62,640 square foot office, manufacturing, and distribution facility in the Germantown Business Park. Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me skip ahead to the right slide group here. Weimer Bearing is located in our Germantown Business Park off of Mequon Road, right at the entrance. Back in 2015, plans were approved by the village for a facility approximately 62,000 square feet in size. At that time, it was anticipated that there would be an addition at some point in the future, and there was provisions made for that. The plan you see before you here is what was approved back in 2015 for the existing facility. This plan is in the packet and shows highlighted in blue the existing facility, and in red the proposed 45,000 square foot building addition, primarily warehouse space, includes some loading docks, some overhead at grade dock bays. Materials would include precast concrete wall panels, insulated and painted, flat membrane roof, clear story windows, a color scheme and architecture to match and extend from the existing facility as shown here. A couple of graphics that show the existing building from just off the road into the business park, west of the existing building, and a view from the driveway, what would be the south west corner of the property looking northeasterly towards the existing building. Included in the packet were some colored elevations that show the views of all the elevations proposed. In terms of site improvements, there's one additional driveway that's being added to Washington Drive. The two additional parking areas are being proposed as part of the addition, with a total of 69 additional parking stalls, some additional exterior lighting, both in the perimeter parking areas and on the building. Landscaping as shown in this particular plan around the parking perimeters and along Washington Drive. And there's also a proposed placeholder for an additional monument sign at the driveway onto Washington Drive. The staff commentary includes some issues with regard to wetlands. There is a small artificial wetland area that's been identified on the property right along the east property line. As of today, we got word from the DNR that they have confirmed and agree with the applicant's assertion that the wetland is artificial and therefore not regulated by the DNR. So that can be effectively included or removed as part of the project. You can see it here on the landscaping plan on the right side of the drawing. It's sort of a reverse L-shaped area that was created artificially by stormwater runoff at the end of the existing paved parking area on the site. some landscaping. Both the village forester and staff identified the need for some additional street trees. The forester would like to see a varied a number of species of deciduous trees proposed in the parking lot, consistent with the village's tree plan. The monument sign would require a separate sign permit at some point in the future. And a village engineer has identified some minor technical corrections that would be required to the site plans prior to issuance of a building permit. Again, the property is located in the business park. There are covenants that need to be met on an ongoing basis, a standard requirement. With that, the staff recommendation is to approve the site development and building plans for the 45,000 square foot building addition, subject to 10 conditions that are included in the packet. This evening, I believe we have, is it Adam Hertel with American Architectural Group representing Weimer Bearing and Frank Stengel. Is he here this evening? Here he is. To respond to any questions, or if you would like to make a presentation at this point, please let us know and come on forward.
Questions for staff? I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the site development and building plans, subject to the 10 conditions as noted.
Second.
Bill second. Do we have discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Congratulations. Moving on to item F, Newman Developments, agent for Renwood North LLC, property owner, Renwood North subdivision located south of Frystead Road and Pleasant View Drive. Final subdivision plat for phase 3, 23 single-family lots. Jordan.
All right, thank you. As you mentioned, this is a final plat application for Phase 3 of Renwood North subdivision. You see on screen here, pictured within the bold white line there, the third phase again of Renwood North subdivision. Just brief history, Village Board approved the preliminary plat for Renwood in 2018. The project has been developed in phases with Renwood South and Renwood North. Renwood North is comprised of 3 phases. Phase 2 was most recently approved and recorded last year, with this being Phase 3, 23 remaining single-family lots. Approved preliminary plat showing this subject area for the Phase 3 from the time the preliminary plat was approved in 2018 to now the proposed final plat showing that same area with the 23 single-family lots. Staff comments. There are items to address from the developer who is here tonight per punch list that the Public Works and Village Engineer has been working with R.A. Smith on as the project nears further completion in terms of the improvements. Condition has been added by staff for those items identified by R.A. Smith and the Village Engineer to be completed. And also, I should call attention to, I received an updated or revised memo from the village surveyor on Saturday. So we've placed it on the dais. For the record, I would request with the staff motion or the motion from the PC then, for that to be I guess revised to reflect the November 6th date of that memo instead of the one that's incorporated in the packet. Remaining comments, a letter of no objection shall be obtained from the developer prior to final plat recording. So with that and that prior comment I had about revising the language on one condition, the staff recommendation is to approve the final plat. I can take questions, and I believe Kevin Anderson from Newman Developments is here as well to address anything.
Any questions for Jordan? And if not, we could entertain a motion. Entertain a motion.
I will move approval as submitted with the conditions you have listed.
Discussion. Bridget.
Jordan, did I understand that we needed to adjust one of the conditions to be this updated letter?
If you could, please, one of the conditions I had a reference to the village surveyor memo of October 25th. So if we could just update that to November 6th memo.
Bill, you okay with that? In your motion?
I am okay with it. I
Okay.
could amend my motion, couldn't I, to do that? Or maybe we just need another motion, another.
You
Yeah, I
can just
think
do
I
an
think
amendment.
You can amend your motion. Yeah,
I'd like to include your proposal there.
okay.
I don't quite know how to word it, but you'll take care of that.
Staff will. Okay. And we're voting on the amended motion. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Now we're going back to the original motion that has been amended. And we do have a second on that. No, we need to vote again. So voting on the original motion with the amended motion now. Entertain a second. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
And I should point out that that is a recommendation to the village board, so this will appear in front of the village board.
Moving on to item G, North Shore Garage, agent for Christian Jason Meddor, property owners, zoning permit review for an architectural variance from section 17.412A of the zoning code to construct a detached residential accessory structure garage with a metal roof on the property located at N124 W12650 Lovers Lane.
Hello, I'm Tom
Oh.
from North Shore Garage Builders.
I had some slides, but if.
Yeah. Yeah, why don't you do the slides and then we'll bring you up, okay?
Say again?
I
We're
just
gonna
have
have
a few
staff do
things
a
to run through.
presentation.
and
Yeah.
I'll be quick. So yes, this is a zoning permit application for a proposed detached garage for subject address on screen off of Lovers Lane. The proposal here for this property, 5.24 acres zoned RS1. The zoning permit application is pertaining to a detached garage that has differing materials for the roof than the existing primary dwelling. That being the proposed metal roof is made out of, it's made out of metal, whereas the existing primary resident has asphalt shingle material. Siding, and I'll let Tom talk about that, is consistent with the material on the existing residence. That being said, PC has the authority to grant a variance to the architectural requirement in the code that does require accessory structures to be similar architectural appearance and exterior materials that the residential dwelling is comprised of. Proposed site location, roughly 170 feet west of the existing dwelling. You see the proposed garage and/or shed on screen. And here are the renderings for the proposed detached structure. Photo of the existing dwelling was included in the packet and shown on screen here, showing the asphalt shingle materials. Brief history: in 2018, we revised the code, speaking to the architectural appearance from the word being same to similar, which does grant the authority again of the PC to approve an architectural variance rather than it going to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So that being said, staff in reviewing this proposal and working with the applicant, with the siding being consistent and colors being consistent with the primary dwelling, staff's recommendation would be to approve the zoning permit for the differing roof material. And I'll let Tom comment on the architecture if you'd like as well.
Yeah, we're, like you said, we're gonna match the home with the siding and the colors. He wanted, the homeowner wanted to go with a more of a modern look, so he wanted to go with the metal roof on the newer building. He's not opposed to changing the roofing on his existing to metal when he's gonna re-roof his house. He says it's, in my opinion, he probably has, 5 to 7 years left on his asphalt shingles now.
Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the zoning permit application for an architectural variance from section 17.41 of the zoning code to construct a detached residential accessory building or structure, a garage with a metal roof on property located at N124 W12650 Lovers Lane.
And Russ seconded. Do we have discussion? Bill?
I guess my feeling would be that they match color wise, is that correct?
For
So would you-
side, yeah, siding
really-
and trim, we're gonna match.
Okay, so if you were like a road looking at the two buildings, would you really be able to immediately tell the difference?
In the siding, no.
Okay.
And they're pretty far apart. If you look back, on the survey, it's a very large lot. And here, there's like a separate drive.
Right.
You can see so they're pretty far apart.
I don't really have an objection. If I was looking for a new roof today, I might look at metal roofing too. It's just it's a newer technology roof. Metal roofs are quite attractive, so.
So
Go
you,
ahead.
I was gonna,
ahead.
so you said that, when the shingles wear out, that the owner would probably go to metal?
You would probably go to metal on the residence, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's
then
just
it
that- yeah, I think
matches
there-
then
there-
anyway.
There's
Yeah.
probably 5 to 7 years left on that,
Metal roofs more expensive than shingle?
by a long shot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Personal info. Thank you.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Moving on to item H. Signarema, agent for Pfeiffer Industrial Properties LLC, property owner, sign review application for the Marbach at N116 W18333 Morse Drive. Jordan.
First question, do you want a presentation on this?
I'll entertain a motion. If you want to give a presentation, but no, I think
Well,
this
just
is-
quickly, it's a proposed sign, a wall sign. We've seen them in the past and you motioned previously without the presentation, but the sign is proposed and is compliant with code.
Great.
I'll make a motion to approve the sign for Marbach for property. N116 W18333. Stripe.
Second.
Discussion. No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Moving on to item I, Community Development Department, Holy Hill Gateway District Master Plan Project Review Consulting Services Request for Proposals.
That's me.
Jeff.
Back in September, the Plan Commission discussed the need to resume work on preparing our neighborhood master plans. We agreed on a slight revision to the priority schedule, if you will, to include Holy Hill Gateway, number 1, Village Center District is number 2, and the Freistadt District, number 3. We distributed a revised version of the request for proposals for consulting services to assist the Village Plan Commission in the preparation of a master plan for the Holy Hill Gateway District. We were going to review that in October. Unfortunately, our meeting ran a little long, so we tabled action on that. Included in your packet is an October 13th version of the RFP. But as pointed out in the cover sheet for this item for tonight, I included a updated timeline that I would like you to consider and include in any direction to move forward with the RFP. The intention is to ask for any last minute changes that you'd like to be made to the RFP, including consideration of President Soderberg had provided a copy of the RFP with his suggested changes in a strikeout and underlined format that was included in your packet, along with the October 13th version of the RFP. And so, again, we're looking for the Plan Commission direction to issue the RFP, ideally as soon as possible, so we can move forward with trying to retain a consultant before the end of the year.
Yeah, go ahead. Bob.
The question on Bob's comments. Strike on that unless I'm missing something. I didn't see any strikeouts or any addition.
There's some blue ones.
Or what?
Some blue ones.
I mean, I'll let Bob characterize his comments, but they're generally minor in nature. And
I didn't see it.
Where in the packet is that?
The last attachment.
Oh, wait a minute. Is that the blue inserts?
RFP Bob Soderberg comments.
Yeah.
You
It's the
filed.
last attachment.
Yeah, last attachment. I use Civic Clerk and okay, so I see the one.
I don't.
Hold on.
Are they not showing up?
The only blue one, do you have more than one comment?
I had a
They're all
couple,
in red.
and I attempted to address some of the comments from the speaker and citizen comments.
I'm a little colorblind.
Oh, there it is.
See the-
Spelled my name wrong.
I only see blue.
Soderbert. That's okay. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Sorry.
They're
If
not-
you
they're
want.
not in there.
in
Yeah,
lieu.
they're minor in nature, and I don't see them in here. In the last section 1, just more from I added with the outcome being the reflected vision of the village. This is on page 1, and I added to the paragraph, given ongoing and significant development pressure in the Holy Hill Gateway District, et cetera. And I added, and must be mindful to the residents of this that is critical, as they are a critical stakeholder in the development of the plan.
Okay.
On page 2 of 15, again, just minor, including residential proposals. Page 3, added language or word from use of commercial, retail, and high. I added medium density residential use. Did that in 2 sections on page 3. On page 4, at the top, where it talks about is the intended vision, et cetera, I added verbiage that stated, and mindful of neighboring residents. And just flip-flop the priority on number 7, which is section 3, master plan objectives. I put residents in front of village board and plan commission. And I believe that's all the page 6, under the 2050 plan consistency, added language that's stated at the end of the paragraph and reflects the desires of village residents and taxpayers. And page 8, under the preferred land use plan, conceptual renderings and site plans, I added language that states village residents and taxpayer wishes must be represented and taken into account. And I believe that is, oh, sorry, page 13. Where we're talking about the public engagement plan, which is item 4A. I added a sentence at the end of that paragraph that states all surveys will match prior question and be open-ended. Resident and taxpayer responses will have a high priority for considering changes. And based on the comments that I mentioned, the tone is that getting more residents, local residents, and neighbors, getting their input and listening to them as well. So, and that's not in the packet.
Apparently not. We're trying to bring it up on the screen if we can.
No,
Yeah.
For what it's worth, I think all of your comments are worthwhile, and add to the quality of the RFP in general. But I think it's also important to point out that it's the RFP. And when we'll have opportunity to review and discuss with the consultants further, ultimately, when we pick one, we can sit down with them and negotiate a full scope of work and priorities and that sort of thing.
Got it.
So there's time if things need to change or to reorient priorities or that sort of thing, we can certainly
Okay,
do so.
great. But the RFP also sets the tone as well. So I would hope that you would, yeah, Bridget?
I think overall, the comments that you added were beneficial. Just double check that there's periods and things, because it looks like a couple of them might have escaped during the editing process. The last comment about the surveying, that all surveys should match. I think we might want to use a little looser language there.
That's fine.
I like the intent of where that's going, that the surveys are well thought out and presented in a way that there are like write-in options, that they're there's opportunity for more feedback, that you're not setting the stage for the survey questions.
Correct.
But I think the language you've got in there is maybe a little bit too precise,
That's fine.
that it might hinder the process a little bit
Okay,
on the opposite side.
thank you. Bob?
Yeah, I echo the same comments, just in general, getting more resident input throughout, sprinkled throughout here. The only other comment that I had was under page 12, under the evaluation process, and we talk about the team comprised of the village administrator, community development director, public works director, village engineer, and village president. So plan commission wouldn't be, that's under section.
You are presented with the committee's recommendation.
Okay.
And that's by design. That's the way to do it. Plan commission shouldn't be looking at this at the same time as village engineer, village president.
The intention is that we would bring to you a short list, and then you, the plan commission, at the following week would review those and make a selection.
How many are you shorting, do you think?
Well, I think the hope is that we get at least 5.
Yeah.
Realistically, we may end up getting 2.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then you'll see all of them.
Okay.
But if you want to change that, we can certainly do that.
What's the rest of the commission think? Being involved upfront. Yeah, that's kind of what
I like the short list idea, that we're not reviewing all of them, but we're basically reviewing the recommended ones, that the
short list.
The staff team makes us a shorter list to work from, because sometimes these RFPs and proposals can be real long and really time consuming to read through. So if we're looking through a smaller subset as the commission, I think is more appropriate than looking through all of them.
Recently, we made a recommendation, a committee made a recommendation, myself, village administrator, our finance director, and a trustee sat on a committee looking at financial RFPs for financial planners for the village going forward. We made a recommendation, and that will go to the GGF for consideration, but included in the GGF packet would be all of the RFPs. So if we follow the same process here, with a committee looking at it, a recommendation will come out of that. And in the packet for the plan commission, all the RFPs will be identified. So
we could look at all of them.
exactly,
If we wanted.
right. That's how I would want it done.
Sure. That
Okay.
sounds perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the spirit of transparency, we could ask, the plan commission will have the opportunity to, why this supplier, not this supplier, that type of thing. And plan commission will vote on the recommendation from the committee or not. So
Good option.
you okay with that?
Works for me.
And you're okay with the comments?
You do have your changes up on screen.
Oh, yeah. With taking Bridget's, comments in there about that last question, and I think staff can wordsmith that, so. And get my name spelled right. I like, kind of like Satterbert, so that's okay. So are we looking for, there's an action on this, correct? So I entertain a motion. And if you like my edited comments, just put in there this Bob Satterbert edited comments, so. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. We are now on to, we're adjourned. Thank you all.
Mind having, can you go ahead and mail this out though? I mean, I wouldn't mind having it. One with the comments.
We'll incorporate the revisions and send that back to you.
That works.
Great. So we are adjourned at 9:08. Thank you everyone for coming, and please drive home safe.
What are we supposed to do with the other 3 hours?
I know. We could stay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what's the score?